Good evening dear students, welcome to Bajirao IAS Academy, the Hindu news analysis. Today is 16th September 2024 and today we have some important articles for the discussion, and one by one we'll try to discuss all these important articles. Remember, yesterday I have given one prelims practice question. The question is, which of the following Indian cities name recently changed as Sri Vijayapuram by the Union government? The correct answer for this question is option B. So Port Blair, a capital of Andaman and Nicobar Islands, name changed into Sri Vijayapuram, and it was announced by the Home Minister Amit Shah. So therefore the correct answer for this question is option B, Port Blair. And if you look at the explanation, so the name of Port Blair has been changed and the new name for Port Blair is Sri Vijayapuram, and it was announced by Home Minister Amit Shah, right? So you could also go through the other details regarding the change of name of the Port Blair and other details with respect to the Andaman Islands. And apart from Port Blair, other cities names are also being changed. For example, Ross Islands name is changed into Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose Dweep, and Havelock Island's name is being changed into Swaraj Dweep, and Neil Island's name is being changed into Shahid Dweep, right? So this is how the names are being changed in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. And today I have economy prelims based practice question, and this is also very important. Question is, in economy, Kuznets theory is related to which of the following? Option A, GDP per capita, option B, inequality, option C, fiscal deficit, and option D, population growth. So try to answer this question, and this is also a very important question because previously in number of state PSC examinations this question has been repeated. So try to answer this question. And so without any further delay, let's get into the discussion, and we'll start this discussion with a first very important editorial which is given in the Hindu newspaper, that is realizing this rural urban continuum. And this article specifically focuses on infrastructure in the urban areas, or urban infrastructure would be the focus area of this particular article. Now, we all knew that India has been making a transition or a transformation from the urban centric era. So a rapid migration from rural areas to urban areas, and improving the facilities and the pull factors which have been attracting a lot of migration into these urban areas. So we could say that urban areas are the growth engines, right? So urban areas are, or cities are known as, they are known as growth engines, and because of that reason, so we have been experiencing this urban centric era. And this urban centric era that we are currently living in has also been going through a significant demographic shift, and challenges are arising in addressing the infrastructure needs and also the governance across urban and rural areas, right? As of now, in urban areas we do not have the adequate infrastructure, and that is one of the key reasons for the good governance or growth and development and decent standard of living of the people who are living in these urban areas. So therefore inadequate infrastructure has been creating a lot of challenges in these urban areas. And in fact, the existing schemes or the existing policy frameworks and even flagship programs such as Atal Mission for Rejuvenation and Urban Transformation and Swachh Bharat Mission and Smart City Mission. So these schemes and programs which have been launched by the Union government to specifically address the infrastructure deficit in these urban areas, so these schemes often fail to integrate the rural urban continuum, and it also leading to the inefficiencies and inadequate infrastructure development in rural areas, and ultimately affecting the overall growth and development of these urban areas. So therefore there is an urgent need that we must address the existing challenges, infrastructure challenges or any other challenges which have been existing in these urban areas. First and foremost, when we talk about the urban development as a whole, now urban development, in the arena of urban development, so municipal administration plays a very important role. So these municipal bodies are being established by the 74th constitutional amendment. We all knew that 74th constitutional amendment has provided for the urban local bodies, like how 73rd constitutional amendment act has provided for the rural self-government. 74th constitutional amendment has also provided for the municipal administration, right? So we have a different municipal bodies such as municipal corporation, municipal council and nagar panchayat. So these are different municipal bodies, so which have been established by the 74th constitutional amendment act. So the primary responsibility of developing infrastructure or adequate infrastructure creation in urban areas is the primary responsibility of the municipal administration. So however, the main problem is that inadequate financial devolution is the main problem, right? So lack of finances with the urban local bodies is the first and most important problem that these local bodies have been facing in terms of ensuring urban development and also the infrastructure development. So recent years have seen the over centralization of the finances. So the objective of providing 73rd and 74th constitutional amendment acts is to ensure decentralization of funds, finances, functions, functionaries, everything. But in recent times, what has been happening? There has been a trend of over centralization of finances. Because of this over centralization of finances, the local bodies, panchayats and also municipalities have been facing these severe financial constraints. And in fact, so one of the finance commission, the 13th finance commission, has highlighted a challenge called asphyxiation of local bodies due to tied grants which are being linked to the central schemes. Now in this context, we'll try to understand what are these tied grants. So tied grants are any grants so which are being provided by the central government to the local bodies. So if those local bodies perform better in terms of implementation of the central government schemes, so those grants are known as tied grants. For example, imagine that there is a municipal corporation A and central government has launched Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, right? So central government has launched the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan and central government has set a condition to the municipal body that in order to receive funding under the central government grants to the respective municipal corporation, the municipal corporation A must implement Swachh Bharat mission in letter and spirit in a more efficient and effective manner. So such grants are known as tied grants. And in fact, the rise in property tax should ideally align with state goods and services tax so that it could prevent the loss of tied grants. For example, imagine in case the municipal corporation A is performing poorly in terms of implementation of the Swachh Bharat mission. So in this context, the central grants which are provided to the municipalities or municipal corporations will not be provided to the municipal corporation A. So that leads to the loss of tied grants which are being announced by the government. However, the author here suggesting that the rise in property tax should ideally align with the GST, so that could to some extent prevent the loss of tied grants. And in fact, there is also a disconnect between these components, risks diminishing financial resources for the towns as well. So when municipal corporations are not performing better, because most of the grants which are being provided by the central government to these municipal bodies are tied grants, so when they don't perform, so they face the risk of losing or facing the financial constraints more and more. And in fact, financial devolution or devolution of finances from the state government and also from the union government is very, very important for the sustenance of the municipal corporations, because most of the municipal corporations do not have adequate financial resources on their own, and most of these municipal corporations or municipal bodies have dependent on central and state government grants. So in this context, so the financial devolution from both central and state governments have increasingly favoring the tied grants over the united ones. And in fact, tied grants limiting the flexibility of local bodies, and these tied grants over a period of time also impacting the ability to address local needs much more effectively. So this is another major problem, and this particular problem has been plaguing the urban local bodies in terms of developing adequate infrastructure. So however, so there are certain issues with respect to existing urban and rural programs. So we will try to understand what are those major issues which are existing. So we all knew, for the rejuvenation of the urban infrastructure, the union government has launched a number of programs, and one such program is Atal Mission for Rejuvenation and Urban Transformation. And the overall objective of this particular program is to develop the urban infrastructure, but the problem with the Amrut Mission is that it excludes the contiguous areas, like census towns were excluded, and even urban villages, so which are located very close to these urban areas, were excluded from the ambit of the Atal Mission for Rejuvenation and Urban Transformation. And in fact, both the census towns and also urban villages play a very, very important role in the waste flow cycle, but exclusion of both census towns and also the urban villages is another factor which has been impacting the overall functioning of these municipal bodies. And in fact, the union government has launched Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, and in fact it was one of the flagship programs of the union government to focus on sanitation and hygiene and constructing the community toilets and individual household toilets across different villages, right? So therefore, this Swachh Bharat mission specifically focuses or addresses the solid and liquid waste management, but separately, for both urban and rural areas. However, Swachh Bharat mission addressing both solid and liquid waste separately in rural and urban areas has been one of the cause of concern, because it has created a lot of inefficiencies, because integrated waste management solutions are the need of the hour for this peri-urban and urban areas. So therefore, urgent reforms are required within the implementation or improving the efficiency of this Swachh Bharat mission. So both Atal Mission for Rejuvenation and Urban Transformation and Swachh Bharat mission could actually benefit from the integrated approach or collaborative planning at the district level. So the author has been suggesting that district must be taken as a unit for the implementation of both Atal Mission for Rejuvenation and Urban Transformation along with the Swachh Bharat mission, right? So they could benefit from this collaborative planning at the district level, and that could specifically address both infrastructure needs as well as sanitation, both solid and liquid waste management at the urban and rural levels in a holistic manner, and that would also significantly reduces the bureaucratic collaboration, and that would over a period of time will benefit the urban local bodies. Right? So in this context, what is the need for the governance reform? So that is what we need to understand, because governance reforms at the grassroots level is very, very important. So we all knew that the Parliament has passed 73rd plus 74th constitutional amendment acts for to decentralize the democracy and ensure participatory democracy or grassroots democracy. And both 73rd and 74th constitutional amendment acts, so they aims to address both rural as well as the urban challenges, but now they require strengthening to better reflect the contemporary needs, right? So in fact, in contemporary times, there are a lot of challenges and there are a lot of issues both rural areas and urban areas have been facing. So in this context, it is very important that urgent reforms are required so that these specific legislative and constitutional framework could address those issues. For example, health is an issue that has been emerging in recent times, and reverse migration into rural areas, and that has been one of the recent phenomenon after the COVID-19 pandemic. And apart from that, climate change and changing weather patterns and even impacting agriculture is also a new area or new issue that has been emerging. And solid waste management and even liquid waste management are another important areas where the local self-governance institutions in rural areas are not paying adequate attention. So therefore new areas of focus have been emerging, and therefore in this context it is very important that urgent reforms are required to equip adequately both rural and urban local bodies to deal with such challenges. And in fact, the 74th Constitutional Amendment Act has also provided for the district planning committees, and these district planning committees should ideally lead planning at the district level and also make sure that the resource allocation is done in a much more efficient and effective manner. And they have often become extensions of district bureaucracy rather than the autonomous entities. And in fact, so other states can emulate the practices which are being followed in the state of Kerala, because in Kerala, integrated management of urban and rural issues such as withdrawal of a landfill site due to combined local governance, and even that particularly demonstrates the benefits of unified oversight. So therefore in this context, other states can actually learn from the best practices of the state of Kerala, so which is usually known for the best implementation of both 73rd and 74th constitutional amendment acts. However, in order to make sure that these urban areas or the municipal bodies are adequately equipped to create infrastructure in those urban areas or to ensure a decent standard of living for the people in those urban areas, financial devolution is very, very important aspect. So that has to be looked into. And next very important article, so again which is given in the Hindu newspaper, so which is a human touch to India's mineral ecosystem. So in fact, India is a country which is having a rich mineral resources at different regions across India. And in this context, it is very important that when these minerals are explored, the benefits of mineral exploration should be provided to the people where these minerals are exploited. Because so when we talk about India's rich mineral deposits, the Chota Nagpur Plateau is very well known for rich mineral deposits. So the Chota Nagpur Plateau is located in the states such as Odisha, West Bengal, and parts of Madhya Pradesh, Bihar, Jharkhand, and Chhattisgarh. And if you look at the most number of poor people with poor living standards and below poverty line people, less level, less education access, healthcare access. So most of such people are living in those states. So that essentially means despite those states are rich in terms of minerals, the benefits are not actually provided to the people where these mineral resources are found. So therefore it is very important that a human touch should be provided to India's mineral ecosystem, so that the people who are living in the mineral resource rich regions would usually benefit from the exploration of minerals, right? So that is the overall idea and overall concept behind this particular article. So in 2014, we all knew that there was a scrutiny of coal block allocations was done by the union government, and apart from that we have Comptroller and Auditor General of India to audit the expenditure of the union government along with some public sector undertakings. So Comptroller and Auditor General of India has also published a report, and this report of the CAG along with the scrutiny of coal block allocations by the union government in the year 2014 has led to reforming or amending the existing Mines and Minerals Development and Regulation Act 2015. And in fact this Mines and Minerals Development and Regulation Act was passed in the year 1957, but these two aspects have led to the amendment of Mines and Minerals Development and Regulation Act of 2015. And when this amendment was made, the union government through this amendment has introduced mandatory auctions for the mineral resources. Whenever the central government decided to provide mineral blocks to different entities, so those mineral blocks would be given only through mandatory auction, and also the union government has also decided to establish district mineral foundations, and in fact a provision to that effect has been included in Mines and Minerals Development and Regulation Act of 2015. So the overall idea or the objective of establishing this district mineral foundations or DMFs is to channelize mining revenue for the local development. So that is the overall objective. So however, this district mineral foundations have been instrumental, and they played a very important role in the local community development, particularly the socio-economic development of the local communities. So local communities means that the communities which are living in the mineral resource rich regions over the past decade, and marking a significant transformation from the past practices. And so what is the purpose of this district mineral foundations? So we all knew that these district mineral foundations were established, or they have been provided by Mines and Minerals Development and Regulation Act of 2015 has provided for establishing district mineral foundations. So therefore, so what is the purpose of establishing such district mineral foundations? We all knew that the union government has amended the Mines and Minerals Development and Regulation Act 2015, so to mandate auctions for the mineral allocations, and also to create district mineral foundations, or we could say that DMFs. And in fact these district mineral foundations are a new body established for channelizing the mining revenues, and also benefit the local communities which are living in those areas where these mines or mineral resources are available. And what are the basic objectives of these district mineral foundations? So district mineral foundations were established to ensure that at least a portion of the mining revenues, right, so at least some portion of the mining revenues is invested in the community centric development projects. So when I say community centric development projects, for example, improving connectivity is one way, and healthcare infrastructure in those areas, education, better schools in those areas, and in fact poverty alleviation, poverty alleviation, skill development, right? So there are a lot of such community centric developmental projects. So these community centric developmental projects can be taken up through these a portion of the mining revenues in those mining affected districts, right? So therefore, overall, through these district mineral foundations, we have been aligning this with the Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision of integrating the local communities into the resource-led developmental model. So as of now, we do not have the resource-led development model. For example, one of the finest resource found or available states in India so include Chhattisgarh. We all knew about that, and even Jharkhand also one of resource rich states. Along with that, Odisha also one of the resource rich states. So these states rich in resources, but the benefits of these resources are not actually passed on to the local communities who are living in these resource rich regions. So therefore, overall, through district mineral foundations, the union government has aimed at resource-led development model. So over the past decade, the district mineral foundation so far accumulated nearly 1 lakh crore rupees of funding, and in fact 3 lakh projects across 645 districts, and significantly contributing for the socio-economic development in the mining regions or regions where mining has regularly takes place. And what are the achievements and what are the innovations that were brought into these district mineral foundations? And in fact, these district mineral foundations have already taken up a lot of community centric developmental projects, and those community centric developmental projects including skill development projects, infrastructure enhancement, connectivity project, socio-economic upliftment through poverty alleviation, healthcare and education infrastructure, and even improving the livelihoods of the farmers. So a lot of such projects are being implemented through a portion of mining revenue which is being used to benefit these local communities. So we could say that it can be more closely aligned with the corporate social responsibility, where the corporate companies spend some portion of their total profits for these activities. And in fact, the notable examples of district mineral foundations taking up the community centric developmental planning. So some notable examples include self-help groups in Odisha are being successfully operated with the help and assistance of these district mineral foundations. And even in the state of Madhya Pradesh, drone technology is being introduced, and a lot of women are being trained in drone technology. And in fact, drones have a lot of utilities, a lot of applications, and that would empower the farming groups or farming associations as well. And in fact, the union government has also created the National District Mineral Foundation portal, and that was introduced to digitize the administration and also the overall oversight, ensuring greater transparency and efficient fund utilization of this district mineral foundation. And even each district mineral foundation has adopted some unique strategies, and those unique strategies including elected representatives and establishing engineering departments, so to address the local needs and challenges as effectively as possible, and also use these funds and other resources in a much more efficient and effective manner. However, as of now, a lot of efforts are being underway to standardize the best practices across the district mineral foundation. So for example, imagine that there is a district mineral foundation in Singhbum district. So that particular district mineral foundation has adopted any best practice. So such best practices across these district mineral foundations are being standardized while also maintaining the local context of the district mineral foundations. And and this also includes creating 3-year plans for targeted goal achievements. And the district mineral foundations are encouraged to align with central and state schemes also to enhance their impact and also support sustainable developmental goals as well. We all knew that United Nations has come out with the 17 sustainable development goals, and United Nations has also targeted that these 17 sustainable development goals should be achieved by the year 2030, but we are now at 2024, almost mid of 2024. So therefore these 17 sustainable development goals have some of ambitious goals such as zero hunger and no poverty, universal health care, education for all, and gender equality. So there are a lot of ambitious goals which are part of these 17 sustainable development goals. So however, district mineral foundations are going to play a very important role in achieving these sustainable development goals across different mineral resource rich regions in India. And apart from that, there are certain future initiatives as well, and those future initiatives including that these district mineral foundations to support forest dwellers, those people who are living in those forest areas, resource rich regions, and also planned to develop the sports infrastructure, so to further encourage or incentivize the sports talent in India, and also integrate the broader developmental goals with ongoing government schemes as well, right? So this is all about the district mineral foundations and its overall objective of community centric development in mineral resource rich regions, and also benefiting the local communities by allocating a certain portion of mining or revenue for the benefit of these local communities, right? So next important article is about the power sector in India, right? So the article is all about powering ahead with the competition, and as of now we all knew that power in India or any other country per se, so is generated from two important and different sources. One is conventional source and other source is non-conventional sources of energy. And in fact, when we say conventional sources of energy, so conventional sources of energy includes fossil fuels. So mainly fossil fuel such as coal are conventional sources of energy, and non-conventional sources of energy are the renewable sources of energy, right? So they are renewable sources of energy. So therefore, in this context, it is very important that there should be a healthy competition between the conventional and non-conventional resources, and healthy competition between conventional and non-conventional renewable resources will help further improving the investment climate in the power sector, because investments into power sector is also very important, because big or large scale investments would bring in a lot of technology as well. Now apart from investment, so a reduction in the tariffs is also very important, right? So reduction in tariff would ensure that the consumers would get the electricity at a lower prices. So reduction of tariffs and investments into the investment climate into the power sector is very important aspects. So healthy competition could ensure both. So in this context, because of this particular reason, it is very important important that we need to power the existing, we need to ensure a healthy competition in the power sector. India's shift to competitive bidding for electricity and even procurement over the past 2 decades, last 2 decades, from the beginning of the 21st century. So India has adopted a method called a competitive bidding within the conventional and non-conventional sources of energy, and this competitive bidding has significantly advanced the renewable energy sector, by fostering competition and also significantly reducing the tariffs, right? So this is the ultimate objective. So therefore we could say that the competitive bidding has benefited the Indian power sector, and it has also ensured that the tariffs have declined substantially, and it has also fostered competition. However, recent developments, and these recent developments involving replacing this competitive bidding with the composite bidding structure for coal and solar capacities, so that would threaten to undermine these gains which have achieved over the last 2 decades through the competitive bidding. And in fact, recently the union government has decided to implement the composite bidding structure for both solar and coal based power, and this new approach could potentially hinder competition that we have achieved through competitive bidding, and also hinder innovation and also the price reduction as well, right? A price reduction specifically in the renewable energy sector. So these are the disadvantages with the composite bidding structures. So however, we need to first talk about the achievements of competitive bidding. So what is this competitive bidding? You could actually go with this competitive bidding. It is very easy. Now what are the achievements, past achievements of the competitive bidding? First and foremost, we'll try to understand this. So because of the competitive bidding that has adopted in the last 2 decades, the solar power tariff has reduced dramatically from 15 kilowatt in the year 2010 to just 2.80 kilowatt by 2018. So this is a significant reduction in the power tariffs. And apart from that, wind energy tariff has also reduced from 530 kilowatt to just 2.50 kilowatt in just 2 years. So this is the advantage of the competitive bidding. And in fact, approximately 27 gigawatt of solar capacity and even a substantial wind capacity have been added because of the competitive bidding, and that has facilitated a favorable investment climate for both solar energy and also the wind energy. And new addition of solar and wind energy is because of a competitive procurement, and this competitive procurement is driven by the private sector involvement or investment. Remember, this competitive bidding will benefit every player in the power sector. So because of that reason, there are significant investments in the renewable energy sector. So significant investments were made, so that has resulted in improving or substantially adding the solar energy and wind energy capacities to existing energy basket. And in fact, recent innovations in storage linked tenders have also led to the addition of over 9 gigawatt of renewable energy and even 15 gigawatt of storage, and further improving the reliability of renewable power despite the intermittent nature of the power generation. Now what is this intermittent nature of power generation? So for example, imagine about the solar energy generation. So do you think solar energy can be generated 24/7 365 days? Absolute no. So for example, during summers we could use the maximum potential and capacity of solar panels, but during winters or during rainy seasons we cannot use the maximum potential of these solar panels. So therefore there would be a lot of fluctuations when it comes to generation of energy or electricity, and that is known as the intermittent issues which are existing in the renewable energy. So despite such intermittent issues, the renewable energy capacity has been added significantly or substantially in recent times because of the competitive bidding. So So we have discussed that the center has changed from competitive bidding to composite bidding structure, and this composite bidding structure will have a certain issues when it comes to the bidding. So therefore we'll understand what are the issues with this composite bidding structure. So composite bids usually require both coal and solar capacities, involve a massive investments, right? So generally small players will not be part of this competitive bidding composite bidding process, because composite bidding structures usually requires massive investment, potentially 28,000 crore to 52,000 crore, and that could exclude the small players from participating in this bidding process to sell the energy that they have produced. So understand, if small players were excluded through this composite bidding process, then small players will not invest in renewable energy sector, and that would over a period of time will also impact the generation of renewable energy and the tariffs as well. However, coal plants usually require 6 to 7 years to become operational, fully operational. So contrast to that, in fact, solar projects take only 1.5 to 2 years, that's it. And in fact, the composite tenders create mismatches in power delivery timelines as well. So by centralizing procurement in large tenders, states usually risk concentrating market power, so which could stifle the competition, which could stifle the innovation, and which could also affect the investment into the renewable energy sector, and that could also will not substantially reduce the tariffs as well. Okay, so overall this composite bidding structure will not benefit the burgeoning India's energy sector or power sector. So therefore, what are the recommendations for the future procurement? There are certain recommendations for the future procurement. So they include to maintain the benefits of the competitive bidding. States should avoid large composite tenders, and instead of these large composite tenders, because they require a huge investment, so instead spread procurement across multiple smaller tenders, so thereby providing opportunities for the smaller investors as well. And this approach would foster inclusivity, and it also fosters competition, innovation, and more smaller investors would be ready to invest in renewable energy sector. So as of now, India cannot afford a lack of investments in the renewable energy sector. So therefore, since more and more investments are required, so India could, or the government could, shift back to this competitive bidding process. And even distribution companies such as DISCOMs should implement an annual procurement tender also, and this annual procurement tender by these DISCOMs will offer greater clarity and also a greater stability for investors, and that could promote more efficient and even competitive bidding process as well. And in fact, measures should be taken to ensure that smaller developers or smaller energy or smaller investors compete effectively in this bidding process, including entry barriers must be reduced, and further encouraging a wider range of players to participate in the renewable energy markets. So all these recommendations have to be implemented to further revive or further reform the existing power generation, power procurement, and that would also substantially reduce the tariff amount, improves the investment climate, and also it benefits India's renewable energy sector in the long term. So today we have one mains based practice question. So the question is about cooperative societies. So analyze the role of cooperative societies as an economic driver towards national development, and also suggest some measures to strengthen these cooperative societies in India. So question has an approach. Approach is very important. It is a structure which makes your answer more and more attractive, coherent. So the approach is, first and foremost, you need to write a definition of cooperative societies. You could introduce cooperative societies, and then you have to write the role of cooperative societies as an economic driver towards national development, and then write measures to further strengthen the functioning of these cooperative societies. And ultimately you have to conclude your answer by mentioning the significance and the importance of these cooperative societies, and that's how you could actually structure your answer. And so as I have already told you that in the introduction itself, you briefly introduce cooperative societies. A cooperative is an autonomous association of persons, and they come together voluntarily, so to meet a common economic, social, cultural needs and aspirations through a jointly owned and democratically controlled manner. So when we talk about these cooperative societies, these cooperative societies are voluntary formation, so autonomous functioning, democratic control, and professional management of these cooperative societies. So this is how these cooperative societies usually function: voluntary formation, autonomous functioning, democratic control and professional management of these cooperative societies. And in fact, Directive Principles of State Policy Article 43B has provided a separate clause or separate provision for these cooperative societies as well. So therefore, in this context, it is very important you have to remember this. So the need for the profitability is balanced by the needs of the members and also the wider interests of the community or the group of people who have come together and they have formed these cooperative societies. And this is how you could briefly define the cooperative societies. And after writing a brief description about the cooperative societies, you could write the first part of the answer. So role of cooperative societies as an economic driver towards the national development. So what role exactly these cooperative societies will play as an economic driver and for the national development? So India is an agricultural country, there's no doubt about that, and India has also laid foundation of world's biggest cooperative movement in the world, right? So that is the significance of the cooperative movement in India. And there are about 8 lakh cooperatives of all shapes and sizes which are spread all over the country across different parts. And in fact, so it has also provided agricultural credits and funds where state and private sectors have not been able to do very much in this context. So even it provides strategic inputs for agricultural sector, consumer societies, and they also meet consumption requirements at the concessional rates. So it is an organization for the poor who wish to solve their problems collectively, right? So this is how the cooperative societies usually play a very, very important role as an economic driver in the national development. So there are certain measures, and those measures can be followed, can be adopted by these cooperative societies to further strengthen the functioning of these respective cooperative societies. And first and foremost, when we talk about the cooperative society, there is one particular committee. The committee was a Vaidyanathan committee, right? So Vaidyanathan committee on credit to these cooperative societies, and the recommendations, whatever steps, measures which are being provided by this Vaidyanathan committee must be implemented to further strengthen the existing cooperative societies in India. So the idea of cooperative societies must take the agenda beyond agriculture, beyond milk production or credit disbursement or housing corporations. So the cooperative societies should not confine themselves to these issues alone. So there are a lot of other aspects also. So they have to further diversify their engagement, further diversify their presence across different areas. And there are also new areas which have been emerging with the advancement of technology, and also the cooperative societies with the advancements of technology innovation can actually play a huge role in making people further familiar with those areas and even technologies. And there's also a need to create more cooperatives with women at the helm of it. And principle of the cooperative movement is to unite everyone, to bring together everyone even while remaining anonymous. The cooperative movement has the capacity to solve the people's problems in a latent spirit or more effectively. However, there are a lot of irregularities which have been existing in cooperatives, and to check them or check those irregularities, they have to be rules for the stricter implementation. So however, so you just write the conclusion. In conclusion, so you stress on the importance or the significance of these cooperative societies. So cooperative societies usually have the potential to make India a $5 trillion economy. And Union Home Minister, Cooperation Minister Amit Shah has also reiterated, speaking at an event, that so he said that cooperative societies in India have the potential to make India a $5 trillion economy or more. However, it is very important that the political interference or influence into these functioning of these cooperative societies must be minimized, and the voluntary functioning and autonomous voluntary formation, autonomous control, democratic functioning, and professional management of these cooperative societies must be ensured to make sure that these cooperative societies work in a much more efficient and effective manner. So that's all in this lecture, and thank you so much. So if you like our work, please subscribe our YouTube channel and also hit the like button. Thank you.